What's up, everybody? Welcome to Common Sense, the podcast. Hope you guys are ready for a good show this week because I got a guy I've been waiting to get on here for a while this week. What's up, Isaac?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I do want to take a minute, though, before we really dive in because I was going to do this last week, and I felt like it would probably completely mess him up. I shared with you a little earlier. We've got Brandon in here behind the ones and twos making it happen for us, because this is a way of dealing with the family stuff. So if you guys wouldn't mind, I'm just going to take a quick moment of silence for his son, Michael, and then we'll start the show. Thank you, guys. I know that Biz would really appreciate that. So we're sending him all the love and thoughts right now while he's dealing with what he's going through. So
yeah, man.
Sorry to start the show off like that, but I felt like it was appropriate.
Yeah, it's a good honoring way to start it off. And
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm glad that I'm able to do that.
Isaac, for those who do not know who Isaac Tauaefa is, the flowing Samoan, give everybody a little background about Isaac.
Yeah, so, and listen, I mean, there's a lot of vowels in my name, so it's Tauaefa. Tauaefa, lots of vowels. Bro, I know. Trust me. I've heard many creative versions, so it's very common.
You got to fix one on Facebook then.
Yeah, Tauaefa. But yeah, so my so you said just tell them who I am. I mean, I guess I'm. Yeah. So I was born in Hawaii. My dad's from Samoa, so that's why my last name is like that. That's why it's so jacked up with so many vowels in it. But yeah, so I just grew up loving football, loving God.
What part of Hawaii were you from?
So I was born in Honolulu.
Okay.
My dad is from American Samoa, and he moved to Hawaii when he was a teenager, I think, or like 12 years old, something like that. Okay. And then he grew up in Hawaii, met my mom when they were young. My dad was probably 20. My mom was 18, I think, something like that.
Okay. Or
19 to 18. And I was born shortly after that, so my parents are pretty young. Born in Hawaii, lived in Hawaii till about the second grade or so, and moved to Texas. And
that's quite a jump, man.
Yeah. I actually, it's funny. I used to think that it's just so cliche, but I thought for sure that I was going to see everyone riding horses. Like, I'm sure like people go to Hawaii and they think that everyone surfs to school and stuff. I thought everyone rode horses to school in Texas. So yeah,
I thought everybody looked like the giant Samoan with the crazy tag.
Yeah.
When I went to visit my brother in Maui,
I
was like, "Whoa, there's normal people here." But then
there's normal people.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, like he fits profile.
Sorry. Yeah. There's a lot of people like me. I'm actually one of the smaller people in my family. I have cousins and uncles that are a lot bigger than me. My brothers are all taller than me.
I was saying, you got a lot of brothers. You got what, 3 brothers?
No, I got 2 brothers and a sister. Yeah.
I was saying, because I saw a family photo you guys did not too long ago.
Yeah.
And it looks like you hired like straight up Samoan assassins to guard one of your kids.
My baby girl, it was her 5th birthday. Oh yeah. So in that picture, I did have my brother-in-law. He's Samoan. He's from Australia, but he's full Samoan, and he's huge too. I mean, he's probably, I don't know, 6'1", 310 or something,
That's
like all my dad's like that too. So yeah, but yeah, man, Hawaii's cool. I moved away from there when I was young, but I went back in 2015 to work I worked at a church out there, and it was cool. It was cool living out there and working out there, fishing every day at my lunch break.
How long have you been in Texas now?
So I moved here in 2nd grade, grew up my whole life here in Texas, like became an honorary Texan. So I'm proud to be from Texas.
I'm the same way. I moved all growing up, was actually born in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
And like my big jump was Kansas to Connecticut.
Oh, that is a big jump. Yeah.
Texas.
Well, different vibe completely.
Yeah. Out of this world.
Not the South. I mean, definitely a very like culturally totally different in the way people talk. And I have family that lives in Connecticut. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. It's I can't think of the
Hartford, Granbury, Glastonbury.
No. I'll think of it. We went when I was 16 to go visit them, and we got to go into the city. We got to go to New York, and it was super cool. It was during Christmas, and it was like a record like I think 8 million people in the city. So we got to go back and forth. It was super
Everybody
cool.
should do New York and Christmas at some point.
Oh, dude,
Like,
it's
just see what
amazing.
that's like.
Yeah, Macy's, like we got to see everything. Snow in Times Square. Like it was like super epic. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, then you ended up going to playing college at UTEP. How did we make the jump to UTEP?
Man, so
UTEP?
I initially got a scholarship to play football at the Air Force Academy prep schools. So the way the Air Force Academy works is, Service Academy, you can go direct entry if your grades are good enough and everything else is squared away, or you can go. What happened was all my grades were good enough to get into pretty much any school, but they're very strict. And so my math grades were slightly deficient according to the standards. And they wanted me to retake my SAT and all that. So I had to go, I didn't want to retake my SAT. Like it was just I got to study, I got to wait months, I got to take it again and hope my grades are better. The alternative was they're like, you can retake your SAT, hope your math scores are up here. We're going to take your lowest scores from both tests.
Yeah.
Or you can go to the Air Force Academy prep school and you can earn a congressional appointment to the academy that way. And so I was like, all right, cool. I mean, I think I'll do that. So I went to the prep school, and it was like a whole year of essentially like basic training, like an entire year of marching and, like chow hall and studying along with athletics too. So I played football while I was there, and we played in this league called the Kansas Jayhawk League. So it was like a JUCO league. And then if you end up going, if you get your appointment to the academy when you're a football player, then you're on scholarship with the Air Force Academy and, playing with the Falcons and all that. So, it was a cool time, man. I like grew up a ton in that year. I learned a ton, and I saw a lot of people like that had enrolled get kicked out, get fail, flunk out, get caught with contraband, and get booted out of there. So it was an amazing year, man. I learned a ton, and I got my appointment that summer. But that summer, I was just trying to figure out what I really wanted to do, because I'm like, if I keep going on this path, so I've already done a year of prep school. I have 4 years at the academy if I make it through. Then I have 5 years of like mandatory service to pay back the Air Force for paying for my schooling all the way through. Right. It's not a little amount. I mean, the scholarship was worth something like, it's like three or 400,000. Yeah. And the day you step foot in class, I think your sophomore year, you owe them 200 grand or something. So if you fail out or you get, like I said, you get kicked out for some kind of legal reason, you got to pay it back to the government, So I was just like, man, I was stuck. I just didn't know if I wanted to go through with another 4 more years of school and then 5 years of service before I got to like actually say what I wanted to do. And so I ended up going that summer. I was just like feeling it out, and I went to Hawaii with some of my buddies from the Air Force prep school. Had an awesome summer, and while I was on that trip, my brother was getting recruited. My middle brother went to the University of Minnesota on a full ride scholarship, and my youngest brother went to UTSA on a full ride scholarship. And so my middle brother was getting recruited at the time, and he had just mentioned like to one of the coaches recruiting him, that my brother was like, hey, he's not sure if he wants to go through with the Air Force Academy. So, he's available. So I got a bunch of calls that summer with some options to play football. UTEP was one of them. Houston was one. UTEP was one. Portland State was one. And there was two schools in Louisiana that were D1. I think they were D1 AA schools. And so I went on visits to UTEP and to Houston. And Houston was really cool because it's not that far away from home. They had a great coach at the time. But it's Houston. Yeah, I don't like the city of Houston, but it was a cool opportunity. I mean, the football program was great, but they had this thing where I remember my brother was like bigger, stronger, faster than I was, and more highly recruited than I was. And they were like trying to backdoor this deal. Like, well, hey, you come here, but like, if you come here, like if your brother makes a verbal commitment to come here, cause he was younger than me, then you can have a full ride or whatever. And my brother was down. I mean, my brother, he's such an awesome dude. Yeah. And he was like, hey, man, if you want to do that, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. You can go play at a Big Ten school. You can go play at, somewhere else. Like, no way, bro. So I went on my trip to UTEP and loved it. Loved the coaches. the town I didn't like at first, but it grew on me. The first year I was there, like really started to like it. It's a big city, but it feels like a small little town. So anyway, that's kind of the winding journey to get to UTEP.
And then you ended up like blowing out your knee.
Yeah.
Second year.
Yeah. So my second season, starting nose guard, playing for an amazing coach. My coach, Andre Patterson, I think he's current defense coordinator for the Vikings, but he coached in the NFL for 13 years, came back to college, coached at a few different universities, came to UTEP, and I was like really grateful I met him. He taught me so much about football, and in his system, I was playing really well. I mean, I was kind of undersized for nose guard at the D1 level, because all those guys are monsters. They're all 6'4", 330, and I was like 6 foot, maybe 6'1" with my cleats on, and 290. And so, but in his system, it's an amazing. He created the tilted nose guard. So if you ever watch so the Bengals were doing it for a long time. He kind of get it established there. But like a nose guard, you watch the NFL and the nose tilts on the line of scrimmage and is facing the ball. His hand that's closest to the center is up and hand away from him's down. It like creates this. It's super fast, like coming off the ball, and it's legal, So, but no one ever did it. And he created it, perfected it, and it was a really cool system. So in that system, even though I was undersized, I was performing really well. And then I think it was halfway through the season or toward the end of the season, I don't remember what happened. Playing at the University of New Mexico, it was this play. The running back came through the line through a gap. I was getting blocked out by the center, and I reached just over the top of the shoulder of this guy. Not like a grab was the part of his jersey. So I thought, but it was part of his jersey and part of his face mask. And so he kept running. The jersey part slipped off, and he just, it hurt his neck. He was running full speed. He's kind of whiplashing with the face mask penalty. So got penalized, got pushed back and the line was like, all right, bro, we're looking at you. And so the next play, set up this little stretch play. In the stretch, I'm supposed to hug up to the center that way, because I know the backside guard can cut me. So I hug up close to the center, and I'm moving down with him, and the backside guard the center just put his hand out for a second, kind of froze me. And, I thought he was going to come toward me. So I planted this leg in the ground, and the backside guard just destroyed my knee. Just probably 6 foot, maybe 90 or 300 pounds, and just dove headfirst into the side of my leg, and I had fractured my tibia, tore my MCL, my patella tendon, microfracture surgery on my femur, lateral meniscus just exploded. Couldn't even find a piece of it to save. In all that, I mean, PCL was torn, LCL was torn. Crazy that my ACL was intact and not injured at all. So I had a catastrophic knee injury.
How did you process all that, man? Because that's knowing that the errant play you made that was unintentional.
Yeah.
Caused intentional.
Dude, it was, well, at first we tried to, so my coach watched it back, because I remember telling him after I got injured, I was telling him about how the play transpired. And, he's like, I think that we might have something here, because there's a governing body of officials, and you can actually go back after a game and say this was malicious, this led to an injury, there was a malicious purposeful thing here. And they were looking at a high-low type situation, because that's, in my mind, that's how it happened. The center hit me up top and the guy cut me down below. That's illegal. It used to not be illegal, and then too many people got injured. Well, it ended up, when they reviewed it, it didn't technically qualify as that. And so it was just well, you just got chop blocked and I can't do anything about it. So, but I mean, I've long accepted it and realized that was kind of, making sense of my life and football and stuff. It's just hey, that's how it was supposed to happen. And I don't think it's actually a really defining moment in my life that kind of led me down other avenues of life and got me away from football, really. So,
yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, it was a wild year of recovery. So I did a year of rehab to try to come back, because I had my senior year. So I medical redshirt in my junior year, tried to come back for my last season, and the surgeon was, after a whole year of rehab and pool work and the bike and running and tons of practice, they were just like, yeah, you can't play football anymore. So it was tough.
You think that's where you started getting a strong foothold on your faith?
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, I definitely, I mean, I think a lot of people, it sucks that it's this way, but I think a lot of people in college, it's just that era of life, that time of life where you're just like, okay, I'm away from my parents, doing my own thing. I'm exploring the world for myself. The faith that I thought I had it was my parents' faith. It was only because there was some accountability there. Now I'm on my own, and I don't really know enough to really keep myself accountable. And so kind of sliding into the world, and everything, all the stuff of the world. And so all the wild stuff that college is, So I was kind of in the midst of all that stuff. And when I got hurt is when it really got bad for a while, So, but I think having mentors and, leaning into God and it helped me come out the other side without being devastated. I think a lot of people for a lot of people, it's okay. You got injured in a sport that doesn't matter at all. Like, it's not a big deal. But my life was like, since I was a little kid, I knew I wanted to play football at a high level, and I knew it was the way I was going to. My parents are awesome, hardworking people, but they, neither of them went to college, and like having a scholarship to college was not really an option. Like paying our way to college was not really an option. So I knew if I was going to go to college, I had to earn a football scholarship. And so my whole life was kind of geared around football and being good at football. Identity was in that too. So yeah, when I broke my leg, I had to do a lot.
I mean, that happens to so many. I mean, you see it even when you get to the NFL level.
Yeah.
These guys that they finally get there.
Yeah.
And then that one play ruins their career.
Yep.
They've spent their whole life working
Yeah.
towards that. Like
Yep.
a lot of guys, my friend Tony Hills talks about this all the time. And I just shared a post that he put up today about that very same thing, that it's not, you can't make it be your whole identity.
No, man.
It's a point in time in your life.
Yep. My youngest brother played for the Giants. He was an All-American in college, stud, set a bunch of records, and was a semifinalist for the Dick Butkus Award, the award. And so he was like the only non-Power 5 player that was, in the running for that. Absolute stud. So he left college. He declared early for the draft his junior year. They were taking a bunch of cornerbacks that year. He ended up being the highest paid rookie free agent of that draft year, and then played awesome in camp. Made it to the practice squad. There were some injuries, and he got bumped up, and he played really well. Like, he got a chance to show, and then just did an amazing job. And so when the other guys came back, instead of putting back on practice squad, they kept him on the roster, and he started on all 4 special teams for the rest of the season, which was really cool to get to watch him on Sundays, and it was amazing. So, but he ended up the next year was COVID, and there was no preseason. He didn't get a chance to show a new coaching staff his skill and all this. And so, anyway, all that it was weird to see it because we all had dreams of playing in the NFL, and he made it. And so we're talking daily while he's in camp, and he's just like, bro, this is not what I thought it was. This is a different level. Because again, college, high school especially, but then when you get to college, you're still playing for pride, the pride of wearing this uniform, representing my university, representing my last name. Then when you get to the NFL, it's straight up
it's the best of the best.
Yeah, it's the best of the best, but it's such a business. There's not a lot of loyalty. You're one of the very top players. It's super cutthroat and competitive. My brother was telling me, it's so crazy. If my phone goes off in a meeting, I got to pay $5,000. If I'm late 1 second to a meeting, I got to pay $10,000 or something. It's wild. So there's not a lot of wiggle room for error and mistakes and stuff. So just to your point, though, it's people have so much wrapped up in that. And thankfully, my brother's got a really good head on his shoulders, and he ended up getting cut that second year. And then when he came back, he ended up being, he just stayed up there in New York for a while because his agency wanted up there. And after a while, he was like, hey man, I'm going to have to work or something. They were like, no, hang on. We want you to keep staying up there to play. And he ended up leaving to go coach. Now he's coaching with he's coaching with Jason Witten over in Liberty Christian.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. They won a state championship last year. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well,
Yeah,
now
man.
I'm glad we're missing the Cowboys-Giants game. It's the first half tonight.
Yeah, good.
We got
good.
this mixed juju in the room.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was funny because we grew up Cowboy fans. So
Yeah. How'd that change for him?
oh, dude, like blood thicker than water for sure. So we were like, yeah, I mean, Cowboys, whatever. Wish the Cowboys would have been smart, wised up, and got them in their backyard. But anyway.
So I want to kind of tie into this a little bit, but I don't want to kind of like leave where we're at yet
Yeah.
either. Because a lot of people may or may not know, how much you know about Isaac, but you're also the president of Jesus in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And how, before we fully jump into that, how did you go from football to now being, in my words, a badass in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that,
Especially
but
with a knee injury like that and stuff like that, I think would be a lot of people's fear if you have a very debilitating injury.
Yeah, right.
Jiu-jitsu is not for the faint of heart. Like, you're going against a lot of different levels of people.
Yeah.
A lot of times levels get unmatched. You can get injured real quickly if somebody does something wrong. Yeah. Like, how did you mentally prepare for that and make that decision to go do that? Because to me, that's a really big challenge.
Yeah. Well, first of all, just with the ministry, like I'm at the titles, we're mixing all those things up right now and figuring out responsibilities and all that. So, I mean, I'd say I'm a director, but
I'll say president of Josh.
Yeah. Yes.
Josh's babysitter.
Yes. That's I love that, dude. Well, I mean, it's easy. It's like after football, after I broke my leg, the only thing I could do and I knew how to do was like lift weights. Cause that was like, I need to still do something physical and competitive, even if it's just competitive with myself, So, I started lifting really heavy but man, I got injured a couple times lifting heavy. I thought maybe I want to do powerlifting. And like I said, got injured a couple times and obviously my knee was so messed up. There wasn't a whole, certain lifts are really, really hard with the type of injury that I had. And so I was just looking for something. I took some boxing classes with a buddy. It was cool, but it wasn't as fulfilling. And then when I moved out to Hawaii, to go work at a church. I think I told you that earlier. Yeah. I had this super cool dude that I worked with at the church who was a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, been training like 10 years. I probably outweighed him by 100 pounds and I had like 20 years. I was 20 years younger than him. And he was telling me how cool jiu-jitsu was. And he showed me videos and I thought it was so boring. And, he's like, well, come train with us. We'd love to have you sometime at my house. He had all these mats in his house. The whole living room was just mats. And so I went and rolled with him and dude, I mean, he rolled me up like 100 pounds lighter than me, 20 years older than me, and just wrecked me. Like I couldn't do anything. I was tied up completely. And I was like, how are you doing this? I can't believe this. So much leverage, so much skill and technique and patience and like timing. And so, I mean, he just showed me, I think if I wouldn't have gotten whooped like that, I wouldn't have believed that it was a legitimate, like to me, jiu-jitsu was just karate, and not to like bang on karate, but like everything was karate chopping, that's it. It's just like all kind of fake, like whatever stuff that kids do. Right. No, man, he proved to me jiu-jitsu was like a legitimate thing that could help you in a street fight or defend your family or whatever. And so I was like, all right, this is legit. I'm going to start doing this. So I started training. Then he referred me, when I moved back to Texas, he referred me to a school in Dallas, started training there. And for me, it was just scratching that itch of, I want to do something competitive. I want to challenge myself. And I don't mean competitive in the way like I have to compete at something. I have to prove I'm better at something than someone else. It was like, I just need something to drive me to be consistent. And, so jiu-jitsu was that, because it was like, it's addicting. I mean, you've done it, like, dude, I want to get better at this thing, or I was lacking in this area. I can improve this. The steps are actionable. I can practice this move. I can drill it. I can try it in a live roll, and then I can hit it when we're really going for real.
This is going to sound like the dumbest excuse to you in the world for why I still haven't been doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Considering my brother owns a jiu-jitsu gym, until my brother can come over, or my sister-in-law, I don't care which one, next time we're literally going to spend a day tying my belt. There is nothing more embarrassing than having to have a grown man help you tie your belt. And these guys rip this damn thing off of you constantly.
Oh, I know.
And it's like, this is the weirdest thing. I feel like I'm having half the class with some guy helping me tie my belt around my waist, and it's absolutely infuriating.
If it makes you feel better, there's a guy that we train with, and anybody that listens to this podcast that trains in the jiu-jitsu like area anywhere around us knows this guy. We call him Nightmare Nate. He's a savage 54-year-old dude. He's blind in one eye. He's a straight up honey badger. Like, I mean, he'll kill anybody that he rolls with. And you know, he threw me around. The first time I rolled him, he tapped me like 6 times. He's been doing jiu-jitsu and wrestling his entire life. And he's a savage, but he only ever trained no-gi. And so like there was one class where he needed to have his Formiga, he was like calling Formiga into the dressing room. He's like, hey, can you help me tie my belt? So it's like a guy that trained 25 years, didn't know how to tie the belt. He's still embarrassed. Like, I mean, still kind of like, oh, I don't want this grown man helping me tie my belt. So I get it. But I mean, at the same time, you could tie it any which way and no one's going to bat an eye. You're just going to look at it and be like, it's white belt stuff, you know, just tie it out. Just let it hold your jacket closed, you know? Yeah. So, but yeah, man, that's funny. I get it though. I get it.
Well, and I feel like I haven't had a good first timers experience yet.
Yeah.
And you know, that's my own doing, you know, like the first time I went, my brother ended up being sick and he had a bunch of like straight up killers in his gym that are training to be UFC guys and stuff. Yeah. He's changed that since then. But like, and lucky for me, I got paired with a black belt that again, the guy that was 20 years probably older than me, but very knowledgeable, very helpful. And
that's
hey,
great.
Try this on me.
Great representative of the sport.
But you know, hey, if this is too much, just say so. You can watch me, or just tell me you want me to do it some more, and I'll keep showing you. Yeah, I was just gassed because I was stupid and went and worked out before the class. Yeah, didn't ask enough questions. I wore full workout clothes under my gi.
Oh no!
And like they were training with it like 100 degrees in there in the middle of winter. I was gassed by the time.
That'll make a lot of people.
So exhausted. I mean, like it was a bad question. And then the second time I go is no gi, and I go to y'all's event at Formiga, and you guys have this like world champion no gi guy there. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Pedro Rocha.
There you go. Yeah, and I get paired with this poor kid. Like I felt so bad for him. He did not sign up to like give me my first no gi lesson and like trying to show me all this stuff. He's trying to figure out these advanced moves. Yeah, and it's like. Man, after like the second one, I was like, hey, man, if you want to go pair off with somebody else, I'm going to sit over here and watch because there's no way I can do this move. I'm going to kill myself or somebody else. Like, this is all going to be bad. Like, I'm not getting out of this. So I don't feel like I've really had an experience yet where like, I've really just got to like go through it a little bit, learn some of the basics without like, having everything so complicated and just kind of getting my feel for it.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing too to have to. I'm saying from my perspective because I teach jiu-jitsu. I coach at a school. I give private lessons, so like I understand the importance of it being a good experience for somebody. Not so much like not just like catering to somebody but like making them eliminating the distraction of all the kind of stuff you were talking about, all the problems, being super uncomfortable, training in an environment where you're super unfamiliar, eliminating all that, the distraction so that they can have a good experience and see, oh, I see why this is useful. I see how this could be fun. And then from there, then it's just like, then you're hooked and then, you know, you're in. So, man, that's how that was me. And like, I just saw the utility of it. And then I saw, oh, this could be an area where I apply myself with the athletic ability I still have and train. And again, the reason why I liked it in light of my injury was I didn't have to run. I'm not like, I have nothing in between my bones now. I'm like, so even just walking is brutal on those bones because they're just wearing down and arthritic and all this stuff. So if I could do something where I don't have to run and like I could either, you know, you're standing for a little bit, you're playing guard, you're on your back, whatever. It's nice because it's really good cardio, but you're not having to run laps, So that's why
that was the excuse I made the first time. Like, okay, this taught me like my cardio is trash.
Yeah.
And like I did some cardio and I was like, man, it's still like the only way you're going to get better and get jiu-jitsu cardio is doing jiu-jitsu.
100%.
Like you can't like go like, all right, I can run a marathon or I can do all this. Like it doesn't matter. It's a different pace. It's a different grind.
Dude, it
like,
is.
I don't know how else to explain that, but like
No.
I thought mentally like, okay, I just need to get my cardio better. And like, yeah, no, like I was still like even years later and my cardio being way better when I went and did the no-gi with you guys. Man, I was getting gassed real fast.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. I mean, there's really nothing you can do to prepare for it except for do more of it. So just like you said, and it's really nothing prepares you for jiu-jitsu like jiu-jitsu. So you got to keep doing it,
So I know we haven't touched on all these, but I think this is a good place to go. So you're a father, a coach, a musician, you're a leader with Jesus in Jiu-Jitsu. You also have your, the Walk in Truth Ministries you're a big part of.
Yep.
All these things. What's your driving force behind all these many passions, and how are you creating balance to do all these things?
Well,
you do a lot, man.
Yeah,
you also podcast on top of all this.
Yeah.
Granted, you guys do straight up Navy SEAL shit and record it every hour of the night. JP grills you guys.
So I think there's a lot better people out there can answer the balance question. I'm still figuring that out myself, but I'd say what I've learned over time and how to manage it is obviously there are seasons where things have to be prioritized over other things. I'm learning that. That's the wisdom that I've gained through experience and Hard Knocks recently. Is just kind of like there's things that were a priority maybe a year ago that right now, I'm not saying they're not a priority, but like, I had to take inventory of things that I'm neglecting and now bring those things up to the top and, kind of, so it's constantly shuffling, but I think part of it is just being honest self-assessment, like taking an inventory of what things you're involved in and where you're dropping the ball. Cause you're going to, it's at some point, only so many things can be, you can only juggle so many things before you start, even if you're really good at juggling. After a while, things start falling off, and so it's super important to be honest about where you're at. And that's I go through seasons of that, cycles where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of dropping the ball here. I think pride will keep you from being honest. No, I can do that too. I can do that. I can do this, and I'm not going to drop the ball there. That's pride. But humility says, and am I really doing the best? Am I really being a good steward of that opportunity? Am I really being a good representative in that area? And so I think honesty helps you balance stuff. And so I also have a title job too. So I work for a real estate title company. I heard you talking about commercial, like multifamily, commercial construction, right? That's what you're into.
I do general contracting for multifamily.
Sweet. Yeah. So I work with a lot. I mean, our group works with like a ton of multifamily like developers and asset managers and people that do ground up construction and all that stuff. So I'm familiar a little bit with that. Yeah. And I think that, so balancing that as well. And I mean, that's one of the areas where like my book of business hasn't been the same as it was last year, a year before. And part of it was
tough industry right now.
Yeah, dude, I know interest rates were brutal and, really stifled a lot of business. But also there was other stuff that was kind of getting out of whack, and that time I was putting into different things. And so I kind of had to take it, like I said, be honest about it. I want to be the dude that can handle like 1,000 things and never drop the ball anywhere. But if I'm being honest, I'm not. I'm the dude that can probably do half of that really, really well and not drop the ball. And so, so I'd say honesty is the way to do it.
And I love this. This is like, I'm so grateful for the introductions I had of meeting Josh and then getting to meet you and all the other guys that are involved with what you guys do. I mean, these are the kind of conversations we get to have that not everybody opens up and is real honest about.
Yeah.
And you guys, it's kind of like I said in my post earlier today when I reshared this, there's a big percentage of people that follow me or that know me and whatnot that are going to see the title Jesus in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, oh, great. He's going to have a guy on here. It's just going to talk about religion. Yeah. But that's the beautiful thing I found with all of you guys is you guys have found a way to blend your experiences and share your faith. And it's not like a beat you over the head thing. And it's like, everything is faith-based that you guys work around. But at the same time, it's not what you find so much of, especially in South Texas. Where it's just like over the top. Yeah. You know, you can't say anything without being that way. I mean, like, you know, you talk to somebody, you guys are involved with JP. Yeah. JP was a Navy SEAL, is a Navy SEAL, retired, but you know, that guy had to do all kinds of crazy things. So like him sharing that and how that brought his faith stronger with things, and just hearing JP talk about things, you know, like that's a whole nother perspective that I think more people need to hear. That like you would think somebody that's been through what he has been through would have zero faith in pretty much anything. Right. Yet he's probably one of the stronger ones out of the guys I know that like really is like honed in with his faith. Yeah.
Well, and my experience personally, so I have JP is one of my friends that has a special forces background. So like I know a lot. I mean, like Navy SEALs, you know, so JP and a couple other guys and guys that were like SWAT and recon and Marine recon and Green Berets and Delta Force. I know a ton of guys through jiu-jitsu and the circles that I'm in. And man, I'd say the actual commonality there is that a lot of those guys actually, because of their brush with death and because of them being surrounded by all of that, I think seeing the depravity of humanity and seeing like how broken stuff is, seeing actual evil, not just
perceived evil.
Yeah. Not perceived evil, actual real evil. That's just like, well, there has to be an equal and opposite force, and it's good. And if it's good to that degree that this is bad, then, you know, I think that's God, I think. And so, but man, I agree with you. Like, I think that the world doesn't need more like polished up churchy people that are, like you said, beating people over the head with religion. I think you need more people who are real people with real struggles that are not afraid to like show that stuff, but active. Like you'd see them striving and living every day, like doing life with people, like walking every single day with people who are actually living that life. Yeah. That's the best witness that you could have. It's not the, hey, let me sit and talk to you for 20 minutes about God. It's like, okay, let me live out loud in front of you for 2 years. Yeah. And then it'll open up the door for you to go, okay, there's something going on. What are you doing? How are you doing this? You know?
Yeah. That's why I like your guys' podcast so much, because you guys do that. Like, you don't just talk about, like, you guys don't just read scriptures and talk about what it means to each of you. You guys also talk about where you've personally failed. Yeah. The things you guys struggle with. Yeah. That, like, you make it very apparent that, like, hey, and a lot of people lose sight of this. They look at religion as like just being, it can only just be a hypocrisy because nobody's perfect. Yeah. But I think the problem is so many people try to hide the imperfect and where they failed versus owning it and admitting it. Yeah. Like, hey, I failed. Like, I'm not perfect. Like, I'm still working towards this. Yep. But yet I failed here. Sometimes I needed somebody to pick up. I mean, I listened to you and Josh talk on the recent one where it was just you two. Yeah. Which is hilarious. Yeah, when it's just two of you. Yeah. But I listened to you guys, and I mean, I heard for sure Josh say a couple times, like, man, like, I still struggle with this. Yeah. This is really hard for me. Like, I'm not always good at this. And you were like, yeah, man, me too. Yeah. Like, this is something, and you guys share those experiences, which I think makes so much better. Yeah. So how did you guys come up with this idea and decide to make Jesus in Jiu-Jitsu what it is?
Yeah, so the short version is when we were at Pursuit. So Pursuit is how it came about. Yeah. We had an amazing experience together. That walking through that weekend together, you do some like heavy, like, man, getting rid of stuff from the past, just getting over that stuff, giving it to God. and getting free from a lot of stuff in your past. And if you do that together, I mean, just like when you sweat on the mat in jiu-jitsu, or like guys that I know that have been to war, this is a version of that thing where like you did something really hard together, you come out the other side very close. And so that's kind of what Pursuit felt like. And then at the end of that, we're like, hey, we want to continue this brotherhood, but we need to we want to do it in our jiu-jitsu community. And so that started the idea. Then we like took the steps to formalize it and actually get that going. And then we just wanted to bring other people into that fellowship and friendship that we had. It's like, man, we're good friends. We're running toward God together, and not again in the churchy way, but in like literally the real life way where we're going to struggle and fight and fail, but we need to continue on. We're committed to not quitting. And so that's making that commitment and then wanting to bring people into that is how we started the ministry. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what kind of strategies have you guys tried to season within that to build that community?
Yeah. So we have our live events, which you went to. So the live events are an opportunity for people to gather and kind of just, it's multi-purpose. It's like, we want people who are strong in their faith, who know what they believe, to show up and feel like, wow, I have other people who are with me. We want people who are like shaky or just like don't really know where they land on the whole spectrum of belief, to have a place where they can also come to and not be judged for that, but be like supported. Like, hey man, come, jiu-jitsu is kind of the draw. It's like, come, if you're into jiu-jitsu, man, we got the best guys teaching, like world-class.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got Formiga.
Yeah.
Just to name one.
Yeah. Well, and Pedro, I mean, like having world champions, Pan-American champions, Olympic, Pedro was an Olympic wrestler guy, and having those guys come out and teach these seminars for free for the whole community, that's a huge draw. People just come. There's some people who there's one guy I know that's like, does not believe in God at all. He's an atheist, but he was like, there's good jiu-jitsu, so I showed up. And I'm like, that's cool. You are the kind of person we want here. And it's not just so we can like, hey, hang on, let me give you my sales pitch. It's like, I want you to come and see that there's no like judgment here, but we're all part of this thing, and we want you to be a part of it if it's your decision to. And it's, by the way, it's not this weird version that you grew up seeing, like, or whatever turned you off to it when you were younger or whatever, Well,
I think it's you guys are building relationships.
Yeah, that's
just like you're sharing your relationship with God. You're sharing that with them too, no matter what their relationship is with God.
Yeah.
Like whether they're strong, weak, somewhere in between, not at all.
Yeah.
Like, but you're just continuing to live that and show that like that's how you guys roll.
Yeah.
And you do that with every one of the people I saw there. I mean, like it was super friendly community. I mean, like, and there was, I don't know what your final attendance was, but Formiga's is a very large jiu-jitsu gym. It doesn't look like it from the outside, but it's like the whole corner of like where it looks like a grocery store was in a strip center, and he's like blown out the whole thing inside. I mean, it's massive. I want to say there is at least 200-300 people.
Yeah,
in there.
So he has 3,000 square feet of mat space, and there was 100 that day. There was 180 people on the mat, and there was probably another 20 or 30 people, 40, whatever, outside the mat, along the wall, sitting in the front area. So, and that's kind of becoming the standard now. We've actually outgrown that space. So the next event that we have on October 5th, I rent an event space for us. That's at a judo like competition gym, and they have 4,100 square feet of mat space. So we'll be able to accommodate, so I anticipate we'll probably have over 250 people on the mat. That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, man, it's growing. And I think part of it, again, is just there's no pressure. Like, we want you to come experience it. To what level you want to engage in all that stuff pertaining to God, you can figure that out, but we're available for you if you want to talk about that stuff and you want to dive deeper. We're here. And that's kind of the goal, man. That's one of the ways that we're bringing people into that community. So that's important. And after the Jiu-Jitsu seminar, then we have a time when someone shares a testimony, right? So they talk about like what God did in their life. We give them the opportunity to hear what is called the gospel. And for people who are listening to this that don't know what that is, it's just gospel means good news. The good news is you were dead in your sin. Jesus died in your place. And then you can, if you believe in him, you confess with your mouth that he's Lord, then you're like all of your sin that you'd earned, that earns death for you, is no longer attached to you. and you can now, live in eternity with him forever. So we share a version of that. I mean, the whole thing probably takes 25 minutes. And then after that, then we just try to kill each other for an hour and a half. And you saw, and to
be honest, that was really at the end, because it was, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe it was the pastor at the church that JP goes to
Milestone
that
Church,
spoke at the end. Yeah. And man, you talk about, I can't remember the last time I saw that many grown men tearing up. Yep. I mean, grown men were just like, that dude's story was unbelievable, man. It was amazing. To grow up in the bayou in Louisiana and go through all the horrible things that happened to him. To even think that guy ended up doing what he's doing today and having a ministry is mind-boggling.
I agree.
How can you have, I guess, sometimes it takes certain people hitting like rock bottom, like they say, but to just really see how far down the hole that guy went and what he's doing now and how he can still you can't fake that.
No.
You go to a lot of places and you can hear somebody and you can tell, are you preaching to fill this congregation and take some money from people? And, is your heart really in this? There is no question that dude, that saved his life, that turned his life around.
Right. Yep.
And nobody's going to call him a liar.
No.
He owns every bad thing he ever did or had done to him.
And willing to share. Again, in that Christian community, dude, again, where you want to go where it's real, go to where people are talking about that kind of stuff. He talked about drugs. He talked about, abuse, horrible abuse. But that's where the rubber meets the road, where the good news matters. That guy in that life, in that circumstance that he grew up in, he needed the good news that I was talking about. Yeah. And so he responded to it, and it changed his life in a way where now he's that's his job. His vocation now is he's a pastor that shares hope with people, same hope that he found in that moment. And so then just to your point about people being there with some kind of agenda, come here and let me make you feel good. I'll give me money and all this stuff. So those guys, we don't pay any of the instructors to come, and we don't pay any of the speakers to come. We ask them if they'd like to share. And every time it's always man, I would love to. What a cool community, what a cool opportunity I get to come, and not to say look at me. None of that. He wasn't okay, guys, follow me on my Instagram handle. He literally just shared, I'm going to be over here if anyone wants to talk later. Otherwise, you guys have some great training. I'll see you later. And so,
they say put yourself in rooms you're uncomfortable in, because otherwise you don't grow.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like you guys have done that. Yeah. Your whole group, your inner circle.
Yeah.
Is what I'm going to refer to it as. And I'm glad to be getting to know some of those guys, and to become developing friendships with you guys, because I learn a ton from you guys.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're not doing that, you're not putting yourself in those environments, you're not able to grow or find some of your weaknesses and see other sides of things.
Man, absolutely true.
And it's got to be a tricky spot for you guys to, just because of some of the big names and some of the people that you guys are around and you train with.
Yeah.
And and I know you guys are super protective of those people, and rightfully so. I felt so, I don't want to say I felt bad for him, but I totally felt what he was saying. When I was going back listening to some podcasts and stuff, trying to come up with some other good questions to ask you, just because you and I are new in our friendship. I don't know you as well as I know Josh.
Yeah.
And Josh was zero help, for the record.
Yeah.
I know he's going to listen.
Typically zero help. Yeah.
So, he wasn't a lot of help. I know he's moving and taking pictures of his feet on planes and all that cool stuff.
Moving.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Nice shoes. Nice shoes, dude.
Yeah. Nice stuff.
I can't wait till he listens to this podcast.
Yeah. Like, what are those stupid things that only doctors should wear?
Yeah.
Crocs.
Yeah.
I saw him with a pair of Crocs on in a picture recently, and I was like, what are you doing, bro? He's like, I earned these.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you got him in full off-road mode too, bro. Like, if you're not a doctor, I just don't feel like you should be wearing Crocs.
Yeah, I agree.
And if I was wearing them on a plane,
Josh.
I probably wouldn't take a picture of it and put it on there saying I'm moving. I mean,
Yeah.
Like, has anybody ever asked you how fast your new Crocs make you run?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Moving. How fast?
But I mean, I know you guys are super protective of those guys, but you know, when I was listening to that, I heard JP say, like, I know a lot of people come around just because they think I'm going to get them access to other said people. And like, dude, that's so sad.
Yeah.
Like, to me, because people ask me all the time, like, how do you get so-and-so on your show? I was like, I have conversations with people.
Yeah.
I meet people. I try to expand my network.
Yeah.
I want to be around other great people. Like, I want to build relationships. I don't want to just, you know, like, have somebody on my show just for the sake of having them on my show.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much everybody you guys have ever seen on my show, it's somebody that I have these type of conversations with, and I think they would be beneficial for you to hear.
Yeah.
Like, not just me.
Right.
And like,
right.
to show you, like, put yourself out there. Like, you're going to see two people that are completely different views, and, you know, maybe you see there's a common ground there.
Oh, yeah.
How they're growing or striving together, because you get a lot of that. But, you know, it was just like the first time Josh and I talked about it, like, Josh was like, gotta get JP on your show. I was like, dude, don't even ask him. Like, I know he already has. Like, it really actually like pissed me off. I was like, dude, I've not even met the man.
Yeah.
Like, I want to like know him.
Yeah.
Like, and then if he wants to do something together, cool. If not, cool.
Well,
like, that's not like the motive there. Like, but like,
the cool thing about him is like
a lot of people pushing that, and it's like you see him like, man, like Josh was trying to introduce me for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was like, it made sense. I was like, I bet 20% of people are here just trying to like go shake his hand.
100%. And I mean, and honestly, I'd say the role that plays, like, I think that's one of his contributions to Jesus in Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. He's rightfully using his platform to like prop up the thing that matters most to him in his life. You know, so I applaud him for that. I'm grateful for his friendship and for doing that. But like, I mean, it sucks that sometimes people, and you can tell, like, I mean, just being friends with him or being friends, you know, like there's another guy that I train with, I've become close with, and he's a world-renowned pastor and author. He spoke at one of our at one of our events. His name is Matt Chandler. He trains, he's a blue belt. He's a stud. He and I have become friends over the last year, training together twice a week. And already people that know that I know him are just like, hey, what's up, dude? Like, hey, could you tell him this, you know? Yeah. And same thing with JP. It happens all the time, you know? But at the same time, like, I get it. I get why people do that. And it's like, hey, there's things that they want to be able to share that they know just because of access. There's just no possibility. But so I think you need to, if you're trusted with someone's friendship to that level, you need to steward it well and protect it. There's a difference though between like protecting it and also like being like, no, this is my friendship, you know? Yeah. So you gotta, I mean, like I said, well, what I was going to say about JP is like, people come to the events. That's a great opportunity to meet someone like that. You know, come to events. And then, and you know, like, okay, so Leif Babin, he owns a jiu-jitsu gym. Eventually we're going to do an event there. That's a great opportunity to meet him and like get to have a conversation with somebody like that. And if you build your own relationship with someone like that, then great. I mean, but Josh said this when he was on your podcast. He said, this is a echelon frontism. He said, intent has a smell. He said, people can just tell what you're after. I mean, if you come with a pure heart and you're genuine, you're like, I just want to find some ways to help. I want to find ways to benefit this person. I'm not just trying to take it.
I want to grow.
Yeah.
I'm offering this. Like, what can I do to help so that I can learn?
Yes, man. Too? People can feel that and they know that. So I think you're good there. And that's kind of why I think I have friends some of my friends are well-known people. And I think a lot of it has to do with just your intention and what you put out to them and what you ask them for or don't ask them for. and then develop showing them authentically this year.
Trying to build a relationship, and so many people lack in that communication part of doing that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like I went the other week to a Bedros Keuilian event. Oh, yeah. My friend Jason Redman was speaking there, and I was super excited. Like, I had bought tickets before they announced the lineup.
Yeah.
And then when I found out, I was like, cool, bonus, I'm going to get to see my friend.
Yeah.
But like literally one of the last nights we were there, we had said, like, there was another friend of ours there, Sifu Alan Baker. Dude, you got to look this dude up. He's a black belt in like 27 different styles of martial arts.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was that many.
Is he a black belt in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, okay. Then okay, he has my respect now.
He's
otherwise I'd say
shit, man. But we were all trying to, like, I brought some cigars. I was like, man, at the end of this thing, like, let's just all go have a cigar, sit and catch up. Man, it took us from the little cocktail party thing we were at, and granted, Jason's very well known. I mean, like, you can't miss him. Like, and he's everybody wants to talk to him.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how bad it was, though, until then. Like, literally, for us to go about 40 yards and get out of that event, I want to say it took us almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because every 5 feet, somebody is stopping. And it's like, it's cool. It's only frustrating when you're like watching it and you're like, that's not genuine. That's not true intention. Like, did you just want to meet him? Did you really want to ask him something or share something? Like, totally different things. And like, we had a little conversation about it, because like, I was talking about, you know, I did his public speaking program and was like trying to get better at that and have some aspirations to do some of that stuff. And I was like, holy smokes, is this what it's like when you like, when it starts going good? Like, because that's a lot to take in, man. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you feel it now as much as Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu has grown. Every event's bigger and bigger. And I mean, like, you guys are like swarmed when these things start off.
which is like, I mean, it's a good thing to the extent that we can reflect that back to the reason why we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm telling you, like, I'm purposeful in taking a posture of humility there, because it's very easy. And it sucks that I'm saying this about even a ministry. It's very easy to like try to make it about yourself. It's just human nature, you know? So whenever there's a spotlight or attention, it's very easy to try to deflect, like, reflect that over here, like, look over here. And if you're aware of it and you're like committed to being humble, and then it's very easy to identify that and stay away from it. But what I'm saying is, I think when you're like willing to be, the more attention that whatever, if it's the podcast or our affiliation with Jocko Fuel or Origin or whatever it is, whatever attention we get, I want more of that, so that we can deflect it onto the mission of the ministry and, you know, bring more people in to understand, like, oh, I see what you guys are about. This has nothing to do with any individual. This just has to do with building up the entire community, and then sharing that with more people, new people every time. So, and I mean, and that's the goal and the mission of the ministry there. And
that's what I think a lot of people don't understand either. You guys didn't just do this overnight either. Like, these are relationships that have built over time. And then you guys formed this super group, you know, to do it. But like, it's constantly doing that, of building relationships, and like, it opens up different doors because you guys are putting yourself out there. Did you ever question putting your religious views out there?
Personally, no, because my entire life has been, that's what I've been about, like my whole life. And there's times where that was because I felt like that was an expectation on me, and this is how I was raised, and this is what makes my parents happy and whatever. And then there's been times where this was because I realized what this means to me and how important this is to share with other people. Like, you know, Josh talked about be about it. It's like, at some point it had to be a thing that I was like, there's really no, I mean, there's a line in the sand for people when it comes to faith. It is either the most important thing in all of existence, because there's like, if you believe that there's a God and he can be known and he has a plan for your life, and there, you know, being with him has certain benefits, and being apart from him has certain consequences eternally. Well, I want to know what those are. I want to know what that is. There's no like kind of important here. And so, yeah, the alternative is it's either that or it's like not important at all. And so for me, I had to draw the line in the sand and be like, this is what I'm about. This is my life. If there's one thing that people know about me or could say about me that I want people to say about me, and that, you know, again, this is that honest self-assessment. If people talk about me and when I die or whatever, like, if they didn't say that my greatest legacy in their life was that I helped them in the best way possible see God and love him more, for me personally, then that's a failure. My life goal, my life mission is to like, this is the most important thing in my life, and I want you to understand it and know it too, you know? So, yeah.
I love that. I love the be about it. You know, like you guys said that, and I think Josh and I talked about this a little bit because I've got a good friend, Paco, that his big thing is be about it. Don't just talk about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's always one of those things that I've always had in the back of my mind. Like, if I say I'm going to do something, then like I'm going to do it. Like, and I don't just talk about doing it. Like, you got to take action to do it. Like, you know, it's something that kind of hit home too the other weekend when I was at Bedros's event. And that's hard, and it's hard at the same time, because if you're kind of trying to do a bunch of different things and you haven't really found that one thing that you're going to focus on, or maybe you want to focus on more than one thing, that's a hard balance.
Yes. Yeah.
And people, I think, struggle with trying to find, they have to use the keywords, and it's, what's my passion? What's my purpose?
Yeah.
Well, shit, I can tell you personally, I've been like trying to figure that out since I was like, I don't know, 12.
Yep.
And you're always like, you know, you dabble in things, but it's like, as long as you're taking some action to explore different things and do things that make you uncomfortable, then I think you kind of start finding those things along the way. And I heard a guy, I don't remember who said it. I'm going to pull this from my notes, but somebody said, just because you don't have your passion or purpose figured out doesn't mean you can't be passionate. Be passionate about all the things you're doing, and then that'll come together. And purpose seemingly seems to find its way into that mix.
I see that perspective, and I think that's a great jumping off point to like bring value and bring purpose to everything that you do and make it meaningful, you know. But I'd say, and this is just again because of my beliefs, that I think like it's just, we're told over and over again in God's word that we're like, we have a plan and a purpose. He has a plan and a purpose for life, and like he reveals it to you. And then when you're living in that, it's like the most fulfilling thing you could do, even if it puts you in danger, even if it makes you exhausted, even if you lose friends because of it. It's like, yeah, but I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think every single person, but especially men, struggle so much with purpose, you know. It's not an uncommon thing. Everyone is wondering, like, what am I made for? Why am I on earth? What is my goal here to do? And for me, that's again, my faith answers that question for me. It doesn't mean it gives me the specifics on like how I'm supposed to carry that out. You know, there's a million different avenues there.
Yeah.
But I think all of us have different gifting and abilities, passions, and those things are an indication of where your purpose is supposed to be. So,
but even in that, and I agree with you 100%. You know, I still, you see so few people that they'll go to these events, these seminars and everything. They'll take notes diligently, but they don't act on anything.
No.
It's like they're just writing another book.
Yeah.
That they may read again, they may not read again, but they don't take any actions, like even small steps.
True.
And, you know, I think it's important that even if you don't know if that's for sure what you want to do, that you try things. Get that playful nature back of like experiment a little bit, because, you know, I sat down a few weeks ago with a guy that, man, I would love to put you in a room with him as well. I know you're not a cigar guy, but Luciano, man, like most profound person you could just sit and have a conversation with. I don't care if you're eating a beignet, having a cup of coffee, smoking a cigar, whatever. Luciano is one of those human beings that you learn something amazing every time you have a conversation with this
That's
man.
awesome.
And one of the key things he said to me towards the end, which I was surprised, I felt like he was a little more prepared than I thought he was. Like, I didn't think he actually probably listened to my podcast before, you know. And he was like, your weaknesses teach you your greatest lessons in life, and actually, most likely, are your superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
That if you figure out, like, all right, like, I'm really weak at this, but then you challenge yourself and go pursue that to be better at your weakness, you probably find out that that ends up being one of your superpowers.
It's so that's like the inverse of the, not inverse, that's just like the other coming from the other side of this echelon front, you know, proponent that they teach, which is that a leader's greatest strengths can also be his greatest weaknesses. You know, if you're extremely passionate, that can drive you to success, but it can also like get you hung up on small things. And, you know, if you're super focused on the details, that could be a really good thing in some instances, but can make you miss out on big picture stuff if you're so zoomed in on, you know, so it's, that's kind of from the other way. He's saying it from the other way, which is like, these things that you think are your weaknesses could be indications of the things that you actually should focus on and develop and be really good at. Like you could be really good at these things.
Yeah, because once you unlock that and figure that out, how great are you to teach everybody else? That has that same fear, that same issue with doing whatever it is, whether it's public speaking or, you know, name it, a million different things.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. And I was wondering how I was going to like tie this in. This might be the perfect point. How did music play a role in all this for you? Because I've watched videos like this dude was on X Factor.
Yeah. So so music, straight up, music was kind of through church, right? So a lot of musicians start out playing music in church. It's just the place where, hey, it's just natural. Like you have an opportunity. If you have any talent, the church is like, sure, we'd love to have you serve. And so you get an opportunity to practice and hone skill. Yeah. I started playing guitar. I heard Jack Johnson playing a song on the radio. No, it was actually Bubble Toes. Banana Pancakes came later. That was probably 4 years after that. All right. I was in 6th grade.
I was just seeing how far back you're Jack Johnson.
Yeah, like first, like Brushfire Fairy Tales. But so, yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, and his style was so unique. I was like, man, this is so interesting, and I want to learn how to play like that. So, yeah, and just easy to listen to. You can play it with a bunch of different styles. And so I started learning kind of that strum pattern, his chords, and then I started writing songs and playing. I would do more for church, and then I would also play like in talent shows and whatever. And so for me, it was just a thing. Like I never aspired to be some famous musician, but it was just a natural progression of being faithful with a gift, just like in jiu-jitsu. Like, yes, of course, one day I want to be a black belt. I'm a brown belt right now, but I didn't like start with like, I got to be a brown belt in my mind. I was just like, I want to learn, I want to grow, and like, boom, I'm here. Same kind of thing with the music. I was like, I'm just going to keep writing songs and keep playing and whenever someone asks me to play somewhere, I'll play weddings and, you know, coffee shops and stuff like that. So that I developed that through high school. And then when I got to college, I played a lot of music for my friends, and people would just come ask me to play a song or whatever. So I play. And then one day, my buddy's, my roommate.
He's using this because he's married now. He can't talk about how he used to pick up chicks.
Yeah. Well, what was funny is my wife was like impervious to that. So it had I mean, she just thought it was cool apart from that. And that was kind of just like, oh, that's cool. You do that too, you know? But so anyway, in college, I ended up being like, my roommate saw some audition series for X Factor, and he's like, Ike, I feel like you could do that, man. All my close friends call me Ike. He's like, Ike, I think you could do that. I'm like, I don't know, man. And so he starts Googling X Factor and auditions, and then it's like, oh, this is the first year they're doing like online auditions for the first initial stages. I was like, oh, cool. He's like, bro, come on. If you don't do that, I'm moving out or something. Like, you have to just submit. It's a 30-second video. Submit a 30-second. So we did it, and we forgot about it. And a couple weeks later, we got an email from a producer, and he was like, I love this. Send another video, do this other stage. We did that, and then they're like, okay, we need a phone call interviews, and then we need to fly out and do something. So I did this like big audition thing in Denver, and then made it to Hollywood or whatever. which was, again, none of this was because I had aspirations to be famous in music. Literally, it was just because that was just, okay, I guess I'll do that. Oh, you need me to play at a wedding? Okay, I'll play at a wedding. Oh, my friend wants me to audition for X Factor? Sure, I'll do that. It's a video. And then it was like, oh, we want you to come out here and do this. And so I was like, cool. Well, and again, because this is where the paths diverge. Like, there are people who are cut out, like, who are like, they wanted to be famous since they were 5 years old. And then there's me, who's just kind of like, I'm just going with the flow, using this gift, and whenever I have opportunities, I just play. And now I make it to Hollywood or whatever. And this is a full TV show production, and they're doing all these interviews and stuff. And the short version is I learned so much about how reality TV works, and like things that they kind of steer you into and guide you and make you say stuff or take sound bites and, kind of steer you to like, whoa, you should wear these clothes. We think you'd have more success here. You should sing this song. Well, I don't want to sing that song. It's kind of a girly, weird song. No, you're going to kill it. Trust me. Like, I'm the producer I'm one of Madonna's producers. I'm one of Adele's producers. Like, trust me, bro, if you sing this song, it'd be really good. And like, I was 23 or something, and I was like, okay, you guys know better than me. So you just kind of go with the flow. But again, that whole world, like, you're surrounded by people who are like desperately clawing to try to be successful, and they want to make it in music. And I was just kind of along for the ride. Like, this is amazing. It's so cool. I get to be here and experience this, but I'm just going to take it wherever it goes. And, and then, so I made it into what was the top 40 finalists. So there was 4 categories, and I made it into one of the categories, top 10. And, again, just not trying to be anything, just trying to play, but they didn't let me do a bunch of stuff. They wouldn't let me play my guitar. They wouldn't let me play any original music, and then they kind of steered me away from the songs that I picked out. And, but again, I didn't know how Hollywood works. I don't know how music works, any of that stuff. So I just was like going with the flow. And I wish, looking back, if I would have wanted to be more successful, then I should have had more plans in place, more pieces, like people that could help me, like I'm an agent or something, people that could just help represent you and tell you yes or no, don't do that, do this. But again, the whole thing was an amazing learning experience. And it was really just because I submitted a 30-second clip, it led to me being like a top 40 finalist of season 3 and getting to meet all these celebrities. And, I got invited back to the finale when they filmed the finale. I wasn't a part of it because a lot of I think top 10 people had parts to sing in it. I just got to hang out with the people who were my friends that were the finalists. And so my friends ended up winning the whole show. And it was cool. Like, they invited me to the after party, and it was funny because they were like, hey, are you the bouncers at the club after the after party, the rap party for the entire season? And Simon Cowell's there, and Demi Lovato and stuff. And they're like, at the door, they're like, okay, what's your name? And I'm like, and I'm about to say it. And then my friends who were on the show, it was Alex and Sierra, it was this couple, and they walk up like, oh, he's our cousin, he's on the list. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So they, and I go in there, and Mario Lopez and everyone's there. And again, super cool time of my life. Yeah. I wouldn't say like a defining moment, because again, I didn't have aspirations to be some famous. I wanted to just see where I could go with music, because I felt like it was a gift and a talent I had. And then after X Factor was when music really started. I started like, it was my job for a while. So I kind of settled into where I felt like, cool, I'll play weddings, festivals, coffee shops,
Cadillac
Pizza. I opened for, I played at the House of Blues. I opened at Gas Monkey when they had Gas Monkey up and running. Got to open for like a lot of 2 Grammy nominated, bands out of Hawaii or California. And really cool. I mean, just cool experience overall.
So you're going to pursue anything further with music?
No.
So you're going to do any more live shows? What do you?
No, I played music for years, and then I led worship, the music at a church for 5 years. Yeah. And then 2 years ago, I stepped down from doing that because my voice was it's because of asthma, so like my asthma medication I had was really good for my lungs, but turned out to not be good for the soft tissue. in your throat and starts to deteriorate that soft tissue and damage it. And so my vocal ability really declined, like not able to sing anymore really at all. And so I bust out the guitar sometimes and just play at home with my kids.
Yeah.
Or I'll play every once in a while. I'll help out the church that I was at and play guitar for them or something. But
I really liked Moon, man. When
yeah,
I saw
cool.
Moon on there, I was like, that's pretty dope.
Oh, sweet. Man. That's an old. Yeah, that was a old like ex-girlfriend song that just kind of stuck around, and we ended up playing it, and it was my brother's favorite song. Yeah. My brother was in my band too, so
that's cool.
Cool.
Man.
We got to travel all over and play, which was cool.
How did you process all this? And how did you get over or deal with the innate fears and things that I would consider would had to have been there, especially since you basically got pulled into this thing off of a dare, a bet, or your friend pushing you, and then this just continues to escalate. And I would imagine at that point in time, that's probably the biggest stage spotlight you've ever been on.
Yep.
I mean, aside from team sports, I mean, this is solo. This is you on stage, Hollywood, cameras, roll. And I mean, I watched one of the videos and like, your like voice cracked in the middle of it, like you missed a key. Yeah. And like you see the judges and the Simon, the reality TV instant reaction.
Yeah, like, which a lot of those reactions are just like filmed like an hour before that even happened.
Yeah,
you know, but
they're
like, cut together.
How did you stomach and process all that? Because I know personally, I went and did Redmond's course to become a better speaker. Yeah. Especially when I had to do stuff for work. Mm-hmm. There was no intention of like doing public speaking on a regular basis or even being paid to do that. Yeah. Which most people, that's what they were there for. Yep. But I was specifically trying to conquer a fear. Yeah. Did you know you had that fear? Did you have any fear?
I mean, I played music at enough things like, much smaller stuff, church and weddings. Weddings are high pressure. I mean, honestly, like weddings are probably made me just as nervous to play as playing at the Shrine Auditorium and at USC campus where I was. But man, it just was kind of like trying to process it day by day. Like, whoa, this is a crazy opportunity. Try not to overthink it, and that the voice crack thing, which was crazy. And again, I didn't, it's funny because I didn't even plan on talking about it all, but the shortest version is because it's reality TV, they are really good at creating and guiding and fostering a very dynamic and like exciting in both directions, like total crap show and totally amazing, but they kind of curate these things to happen. And so I think part of it was like a vocal coach coming to me 10 minutes before I go, or 15 minutes before I go out, saying, hey, you've been practicing this song this way for 3 weeks now. I actually think that on this note you should do this instead. You should go down instead of going up. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm going out in 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Like, just practice it. Trust me. I know what I'm doing. Just practice it this way. I'll sing it with you 20 times before we go out. Cool. Sing it over and over and over again with the vocal coach. Then I go out on stage and I'm like, and I get to that part of the song and I can't remember what I was practicing for 3 weeks. And I can't remember the new thing we just learned 10 minutes ago. And I don't know if it's purposeful. I'm not saying they're that malicious, but that's definitely a surefire way to get a person who's already like nervous to mess up, But anyway, and again, a lot of the stuff that they were saying, I felt was kind of like pre-planned or, just kind of like they're reading off their notes about their feedback to me, But again, the whole experience was pretty incredible. And I wasn't, again, I think part of it had to do with, I think if my whole life was wrapped up in making it to Hollywood and all this, it would have been a lot more devastating, but just because I was like really along for the ride, this is amazing. Every part of it was like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm hanging out with these people. I can't believe I'm doing this. It was just kind of like, I'm just grateful for everything I get to do. And then when I got sent home, it was just like, well, that was cool. And then of course I kept in touch with a ton of people from the show. Yeah. Just because like you said, what you do, build relationships with people and then just kind of continued that on.
So where did this sense of like constantly being able to find gratitude in things come from? I mean, is that just something you like learned it at home at an early age, or as you've developed along the way? Like your approach, man, no matter when I've sat and had a conversation with you, you always have a distinct, you smell of intent. You always have a smell of gratitude for, I mean, I don't care what it was that you have a shitty day. Somehow you're telling us how like you still have gratitude for, pick something.
Yeah. So I think that it stems from, and again, I mean, for your listeners who don't subscribe to my faith, I mean, they're just going to have to hear it a little bit longer, but I would say that when you realize like what the alternative is, it's easy to be grateful. I've had, and thankfully, I mean, in my life, I haven't had massive loss. I mean, I lost my health to be able to play football, which was a big part of my life. But anyway, I don't need to lose all this stuff to realize how good I have it, and also like keeping your eyes open and seeing the world is broken. And there's so many people who, I mean, just even what you were sharing with me before the podcast, like how tough that is for that family and dealing with that. Like, dude, that what makes me sad for that family also makes me really grateful for what I have. Also makes me, so I think putting things into perspective. My wife is, she's a licensed professional counselor, a psychotherapist. And, we talk about this stuff all the time, and, one of the best cures for depression is gratitude. It's like taking inventory of what things you do have and the reason why you should be thankful and happy. And it's not always easy, I mean, stuff is I mean, it can be a little cliche. So yeah. Anyway, so I think it's just a better posture to have. And also it helps me like continue. Bro, I mean, if you just sit and think about all the things, all the reasons you have to just be upset and dwell and, complain, dude, that's a vicious cycle, and it's really easy to fall down that hole, and it's hard to come back up. I think the opposite is also true. If you get into the habit of like being grateful for what you have, realizing that it could be so much worse than it is, it's really easy to be grateful, like really easy. I think my dad is from American Samoa. He's they like immigrated over here. So he's I forgot how they put it, he's like a non-citizen.
Non-commissioned civilian.
Yeah, no.
I want that t-shirt, by the way. Push him on that. Like, I want in on that.
I heard, yeah. Lucas will get it going.
Yeah, but Lucas needs to make that happen.
Yeah.
If Josh can figure out how to work a printing press.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. They said 2024 for a long time. And here we are. But anyway, so I think that my dad was a non-citizen. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like where you're born in like an American province or territory. You're not a citizen, but you're like, you kind of have a more direct path to do that. So he did that, and then my dad moved to Hawaii.
If you were born on a military base type situation.
Yeah, it's not as much of a straight shot as that, but there's a path to citizenship. So he comes over here. He's one of 12 kids. He grows up in government housing. And I think part of that too. I mean, when we go back to Hawaii, and like part of our trip there is to swing by the old Camp 4 housing is what it's called, and it's like it's a brutal area. Like it's like people think Hawaii's all paradise. It's like no, there's a lot of people here who the economy really affects, and drugs really affect, and gang violence really affects, and that's kind of where my dad's from. And in a gang, like addicted to, or an alcoholic when he was young, and doing some hard drugs, incarcerated for assault, felonies on his record, and then like turned his life around. God turned his life around completely, like cold turkey, and all that stuff stopped. And so it's like, I hear his stories, I see his life, I see the life he's created for me and my siblings, and then the life now I'm able to create for my kids and my wife. And it's like, man, it's hard to not be grateful. You have to like be you got to really focus. You got to be a Debbie Downer, man. You really focus on the God stuff to not be grateful. So
That's cool, man. I love hearing stories like that. That's, and my brother showed me a little bit of that in Maui.
Yeah.
When we were driving around.
Yeah.
Because you're right. And I was disappointed, honestly, like the first few days I was in Maui, because everything you see in National Geographic or in movies on TV, it's all this like Jurassic Park, like
Right.
islands, waterfalls, crazy forest vegetation, island stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're in like regular downtown Maui, like that ain't what it looks like.
No, it looks like downtown Dallas pretty much.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's just a little bit different scenery. It's like, and everything closes at like 9 o'clock. Like, it's not like a party island. It's not like going to Cancun.
No.
Like, it's totally different.
Yeah.
And there's a different aura of respect. And like the locals radiate that. Like, hey, we're cool that you're here, but like, don't go messing around with our stuff.
Yeah, bro.
Like,
this is
sacred ground.
Yeah.
Like, like don't, like, we're cool, but we're not cool.
Well, because they're like,
you do the road to Hana, and I was like, oh, this is what I always pictured Hawaii to look like. And
so it's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
You just have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And if you, like, my brother's been there long enough, he knows all the really cool spots. So like, I got to go see like where the locals go, the hidden beaches, the hidden water baths, under the waterfalls, the, different things. That's like, cool. There's literally signs saying, do not go here.
Yeah.
And all the locals stop the fence
and
go down here. And that's their spot. Like, they just don't want the tourists there.
Yep.
But then you go to another area, and as you're driving along, and like you see the like Samoan gangs and like dudes that are living rough, and you're like, okay, that's that's a whole different thing. Like I don't want to be a part of that. Like, let's keep driving, like going down the road. Yeah, but
the respect thing is big. It's like they say. It's like, hey, bro, this might be like, this is not your party pad. This is my home, So like, you can come and you can have an awesome time and you can party, but like, be respectful. Just like act like people live here. We're not all here to party. Some of us have 2 jobs. That's kind of how my family from there is.
Yeah,
but
maybe refresh my memory on this a little bit. But I totally wanted to have this conversation with you after watching this. Like I said, I went back and you and Josh recently sat down where it was just the 2 of you.
Yeah.
It wasn't all 4 of you. It wasn't 3. It was just you and Josh doing the podcast. Yeah. And you guys got into this conversation that I found really, really interesting, where you guys were talking about words not just being words. And you guys tied it into some scripture, and you guys were you guys were going through a new book that you guys were working through.
Yeah.
I don't know who wrote it or what it was exactly, but you guys were going through this book. You guys were kind of talking about how the example I can think of to spark this with you maybe was, Josh was like, you could say this to your wife, like you could tell her these words, but if you're not actually doing these things, or your boss or your friend or whatever, it's having that meaning behind that. Like,
I'm trying to remember. I think I did 2 episodes with him. I'm trying to remember what book we were reading.
It was like a yellow book.
Oh yeah, Man Alive. Yeah. I think it had to do with like. I think it had to do with your commitment to. I think that's what it was.
You started off with saying it's just like religion.
Yeah.
You were talking about how, for so long I did it because it was something I was encouraged to do, but like, how do you actually find faith? How do you actually develop it to where it's, I don't want to use the word passion, but like it's a passion. It's not just going through the motions. It's not just the word.
Oh yeah. I think part of it is like, I think maybe the example, and I'm not sure if this is exactly what it was, but part of the example is like, I I'm motivated by a deep love for God. That's why I'm obedient. That's why I do what I'm supposed to do. That's why I can persevere. It was like, I think with your wife, it's like, I don't not cheat on my wife because I'm afraid of getting caught. I don't cheat on her because I love her. You know, it's like, I'm not motivated by just the fear of the thing. I'm motivated by the love of this is what keeps me in right standing and actually doing it the way I'm supposed to do it. I don't remember exactly the topic. If it was that book, we're going through a study right now as a big group.
I should have wrote this down a lot better. And
No.
come up with a better question
I should just have a better memory of podcasts I've actually done. I sat and talked to Josh for 2 hours. I should remember something from it. But I mean, I guess the general thing is the same. I mean, it's about that book is dealing with, just topically, it's dealing with men having these, I forgot what it calls it, primal needs or something. It's like 7 primal needs, but they're all like the need to know that you're truly not alone in this life, the need to know that you are that you're like, essentially, that you actually are valuable, that you have things to contribute. It's things like that. And so I was on the lines of something like that. And we're studying, I'm leading a group through that study right now. We have a group discipleship thing with the ministry that I do once every 6 weeks. We're going to bump it up to once a month. But I mean, we had
Where's that at?
We do it at Formiga's gym, but we don't roll. We just people just show up and we sit on the mat
Is
with
that the
coffee.
Wednesday thing you guys are talking about?
Yeah, it's like once every 6 weeks. Like I said, I'm going to move it up to once a month. But we just have coffee. We talk about the book. And then I do a little live stream with the Instagram live. And we had 300 people on there the last 2 times, something like that.
That's cool,
and people
man.
are commenting and sending prayer requests and asking questions and stuff. And so it's really cool.
That's cool, man. Because, there's a lot of don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics, but I feel like we need a little bit more of that, in the right way, though.
Bro,
it's just I got into this big thing with some people online during the Olympics. It really pissed me off. I was like, I'm not the strongest, most faithful Christian in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had my own battles with religion and stuff like that, and I don't shy away from that. But at the same time, I feel like if any other religion had been attacked the way Christianity was during the Olympics, there would have been
lose
wars.
their minds. Yeah.
There would have been wars over it. If you'd have done that to the Muslim faith or something like that, it would have been a thing. But I saw all this empty soapboxing on social media and stuff where people were like, oh, I can't believe they did that to the Last Supper. This time, I'm like, cool. Why are you wearing an Olympics t-shirt?
Yeah.
Why are you still watching it? Well, I still want to watch girls gymnastics. Okay. So it really didn't offend you that much. So don't go on your soapboxing if you're not going to stand on it, kind of be about it.
Yeah. Right.
Almost if you want to protest something, protest it with your dollar, protest it with your time. Cause that's the most valuable thing you can do is don't give them your time. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. The religion thing. So again, I haven't been, the temptation for a lot of Christians, I'd say Christians specifically, is well, I don't want it to be overwhelming. I don't want people to get tired of what I'm saying. And there's something to that. You don't want to be like that. You don't want people to stop listening to you because you're just you just shove it down their throat all the time. You wear them out all the time. But how I explain this to somebody, I had a friend that we were talking about religion, I said something, I can't remember. He asked me for some advice. And I said, well, hey man, this is what scripture says. And I shared it with him. And he was like, bro, why are you always interjecting this into just normal conversation? And I was like, I said, you love to work out, right? He's like, yeah, I work out every morning. I'm like, I know, because you posted on your Instagram stories and you tell me what your sets were. You told me what your PR was. Why? Because you're passionate about it. That's something you care so much about and you do it every day. That's the exact same thing with my religion. This is the most important thing in my life. What if it doesn't flavor and season all of my words and all of my actions, then am I really about it? What I'm saying, if I really, and this is what I tell people all the time, when people online or on Facebook or whatever, get upset about Christians sharing their faith or like trying to offer some, perspective or something, I always tell them, I just like usually ask them, dude, if these people, I'm saying these people, like my people, Christian people, like you actually believe what you say, if they actually believe that this exists and these are the consequences of, not following this, and they want you to be a part of that, not for them, but for you, like, wouldn't they be like, wouldn't they just be assholes for not actually trying to tell you about it? Like, right? If you're like, bro, if you really believe that you have the cure for cancer, like, are you gonna, and people are getting tired of you saying, I got the cure for cancer, I'm gonna tell you what it is. You're like, dude, get out of here, you're annoying to me, like, and you give up. You'd be an asshole to give up if you're like, no, I really do believe I have this cure,
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I'm saying. Like, from that perspective, you should just be like, okay, I get why you're always talking about this, because you really believe it,
But I think if people would lose the stigma, and this is hard for me, like, don't take this the wrong way and act like this isn't something that's hard for me, because it at first made me very leery to have my first conversation with Josh.
Yeah.
Before Josh and I ever became friends. Because I was like, oh, man, like, because, like, I had some bad experience with churches in Texas.
Yep.
And, like, I was like, man, this is not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, but I was very on guard with him at first. Like,
totally get it.
Are you going to be one of those dudes that, like, every time I cuss like a sailor?
Yeah.
I mean, I try to not do it.
I try not to
unintentionally.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big conversation I had with somebody that I kind of consider a mentor that helped me a lot. He's like, well, are you cussing just to cuss, or did you use it to make a point? Like, did it have a purpose or a meaning to using it? Or are you just dropping F-bombs left and right? Like, if you're that guy, like, you probably really need to rein that in.
Yeah.
But if you're using it for a point of emphasis, like, okay, like, I can roll with that because that's you being you. Yeah. And nobody's perfect. Like,
Agreed.
And that's kind of the way it was, like, filling out Josh, even like, just as an example, like, can I cuss around this guy? Like, or am I going to get, like, beaten over the head with the Bible, like,
no.
But that's real talk. Like, people not just being fake about it, and like, okay, like, even if you don't cuss, like, okay, like, if I am, it's like a really bad situation or something like that. But are you judging or looking down on the person? Like, no, you love, like, you guys all have this, I'm going to lead by example. And I think that's a great quality of all of you that I've met so far in that circle, that you're all still human, and dude, you keep it there. Yeah. And same thing in your conversations, man. I think that's really cool.
Well, a part of it is like, God, just so people know, it's never like you got to be. It's like you don't have to get in shape and then come to jiu-jitsu. People say it all the time. Well, I want to start jiu-jitsu, but I'm like, I got to get in shape first.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, the same exact thing with like coming into learning, like just learning about Jesus. It's like, dude, you don't have to get cleaned up. You don't have to do any of that stuff. In fact, don't stop doing the stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you start to like, okay, I learn more about this. I learn kind of like what the Bible lays out is right and wrong. And none of this stuff means anything to me in the beginning or whatever. I don't agree with this. But like as your heart changes, because it's like, again, I think that was the point about that I was making with the podcast with Josh, is like, over time, what happens is I just start to love my wife to where now I don't consciously think about the things that to not do the things that offend or hurt her, because I just love her. It's just like what comes out of me, the actions that come out of me are indicative of the love that I have for her. So it's kind of the same way. Yeah, that's what it's full circle. Yeah.
I was trying to get you to that.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, that's kind of the way to it. But if you, and again, like, that's why you shouldn't, man, I made the mistake in college many times when I'm talking to people about God. It's like, well, I don't want to listen to that because, I mean, it's just a huge rule book. I got to stop doing this, got to stop doing that. And like all my friends that party and stuff, which again, I slipped into that life hardcore. Like I'm well versed in that whole area, and I definitely had to like Yeah, God dealt with me about that. But those guys are like, man, I don't want to give all this stuff up, right? I like doing this, like doing this. And the mistake I made at the time, just being immature in my understanding of the Bible and how God works, is like, yeah, bro. I mean, yeah, if you want to start take up this path, you got to stop doing all that stuff. The reality is that, yeah, I mean, maybe that's the truth eventually. But until it becomes your decision to stop doing that, you're never going to stop doing it.
Yeah,
you think someone else is doing it. Yeah, you're just going to be like, oh no, these people are trying to control me. They're trying to tell me to do this and stop doing that. Yeah. So that's why it's like, no, bro, don't even worry about it. Just come to church. Just come, just hang out. Just study with us. Just sit with us. That's it. And over time, I think your desires will change. So,
yeah, I think it's a direct reflection of the genuineness that comes across.
Yeah,
and all that. Well, what is maybe a really good life lesson or piece of advice you've gotten along the way that you still use in your daily life? Because I mean, you've been coached by some amazing people, whether you want to talk about, your coach you mentioned earlier at UTEP, maybe other coaches, Formiga, JP, Echelon Front, all the things you're involved with. Like, what have been some of the most impactful lessons that you've learned through being mentored by some of these great, amazing leaders of men?
Yeah, man, it's hard to arrive at a singular thing because it's all like woven together, and I'd say
I go with one from coaching, from football.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, well, okay. So there's this lesson I learned from my coach, my coach, and this is a really cool story, but my coach, Andre Patterson, the guy I talked about, he played football and he coached in the NFL for a long time, and he coaches now currently in the NFL. But he had, and this is not really like advice, this is just more of like a life lesson for me that I learned from him. So he walks with a limp. His leg is very messed up, right? When I broke my leg, I tell him, coach, I'm going through all this rehab. I'm going to be back. I'll probably have to take next season off, but the season after that, I'll be back, and I can't wait to play for you. He's like, all right, Ike, like, get after it. You're going to do great. Work hard in your rehab. Give it everything you got. And so over the next year, I train, man, 6 days a week, twice a day I train. Pool workouts, biking, running laps, doing like drills and strengthening exercises, plus strength training, all of the physical therapy stuff I had to do, my appointments with the doctor, all these things, right? Over the course of a year I did. And at the end of all of that stuff, and I remember telling my coach along the way, I'd have meetings with him and be like, coach, my rehab's going good. I'm feeling really good. I got another meeting with the doctor. And then it came time to like actually talk to the doctor, and he had to sign off on me playing my senior year, if I could do camp or not. Well, he looked at, tons of scans and MRIs and bone scans, x-rays. And his final determination was just like, man, I can't clear you to play football. Your knee does not have the enough cartilage in between the bones to justify you playing if you get hit again. So you're going to be messed up. I mean, I already have to have a knee replacement like in a couple of years from now. Yeah. Which is kind of too young to really have a full knee replacement, but I have to. He's like, man, you'll be in a wheelchair for a while, and probably have to have a knee replacement when you're 22 or whatever it was. I'm like, man, that's bad. So anyway, all that's just to illustrate how much work had gone into that, and kind of a whole year of all the rehab, and then that devastating news I heard from the doctor. Well, I went and broke the news to my coach, right? I said broke the news with quotes, because when I went and talked to him, I was like, coach, and I'm just like in tears. I'm like, I talked to the doctor, and he's telling me I can't play anymore, and I'm so sorry. Like I wanted to come back, I wanted to play for you. And he tells me, he's like, what happened to your knee? I'm like, tibial plateau fracture, microfracture surgery on my femur, no lateral meniscectomy, tore my MCL, tore my patella tendon. He's like, I had the exact same injury. Yes, I saw your report, exact same injury. All of the stuff that happened to my knee in the same order happened to his knee. He said it devastated my football career. I never could come back ever again. He's like, but if I would have, so I knew this entire time that you were never going to come back and play football. He's like, if I would have told you at the time, I'm just telling you right now, man, I had the same injury. You're not going to be able to play football anymore. I'm going to save you some time. he didn't do that. He encouraged me along the path to do everything possible to come back. And I think the beauty of it, and as I've gotten older, I've started to see the wisdom in it. Like, I think back to it. I'm like, how wise was this guy to do this? He let me for an entire year toil and struggle and strive ahead and give every ounce of effort, of sweat and blood that I had toward that goal, to then be told I couldn't play anymore, so that I would have the confidence of knowing I did absolutely everything I could. And so I guess if there's something I can take away from that, it was like, there are lessons, like you can't, for me, it was like, well, I need to exhaust every effort as I do something before I make a determination of like, I can't do it anymore. There's something I need to do. I need to like completely wring this thing out all the way to the end. I need to run it out. And then if it doesn't work out, then I know I can like hang up my cleats confidently and with peace, knowing I gave absolutely everything I could. And so there's one lesson in it. And the other one was kind of like, I guess for me with raising kids, there's going to be opportunities where I could just say, let me save you some time. That's not going to work out for you. But like, if I'm going how Coach Patterson did, if I'm doing what Coach Patterson did, it's like, watch them, encourage them along the way, let them come to their own conclusion at the end that it's like, well, actually, this wasn't the best path, or this isn't going to work out. But if you just are told that, you'll have regret the rest of your life. You'll be defiant. You'll say, what if I could have done that? If you would have just told me, bro, I had the same injury, trust me, you're never going to play again, and I stopped playing football, then I know to this day, I would still wonder, well, I wonder if I could have just rehabbed a little harder and come back, or,
Well, and I think the other hidden beauty in that is too, like, not only that lesson, but if he hadn't have done that for you, would you have pushed as hard in your therapy and everything else? Like,
no,
he probably got you also to the best possible place you could be with your injury.
Yep.
That I'm sure a lot of people don't get to, because a doctor tells them up front, like, hey, you're never going to be the same again.
Yep.
You're going to be limited. You're going to have these things. So you're afraid to even push or try, or you don't do it because you don't think it can be done.
No, you're absolutely right.
He taught you the reverse of that. Like, hey, all right, cool, kid, shoot for the moon.
Yeah.
Like, you do whatever you can do, and we'll talk about it when you get there.
Yeah.
When you think you're ready again, come talk to me.
That's exactly what happened. And then it did set me up. Like, now I think I have more capability in my knee than I would have had otherwise if I would have just been like you said, accepted what even the surgeon said at the beginning, like, man, I'm just telling you right now, I'm not very confident you're going to be able to play. But my coach was like, bro, let's go. You're going to be good. Keep going, And so you're right. I mean, I never would have gotten as far as I did and did as much work as I did without that. So, So anyway, it ended up, it was a great lesson to learn. And so, I mean, that's a very long answer to your question, but it's something that I'm taking away. Also, not trying to like take away from, not, I think Strasburger beat me to the punch and he kind of stole our collective, be about it situation.
I feel like you're going to drop other epic bombs. Surpass Josh.
Yeah.
What about with Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu, or with Formiga, or any other Jiu-Jitsu person that you've been mentored or coached by? What do you think is something that like you didn't expect to learn, or that was great wisdom or advice dropped upon you, or maybe something you got to witness? I've watched several of the shows where, for me, a lot of times what resonates is when JP digs a little deep and talks about something that, like, and I mean, I'm fascinated by special warfare and all that stuff. Like, I was in the Navy for a short period of time. Like, that's what I wanted to do at a certain point. I wish I'd figured that out earlier. I wish I'd gave more to it, all of that. But like, hearing some of those things, and when he relates a real world, real shitty thing, and then talks about how, like, yeah, man, like, even I failed at this, all right? Mm-hmm. It's like, sometimes when he talks about, like, it's why I like, Jocko's on my list of top 10 people to sit down and have a conversation with. Like, don't care if it's a podcast. Like, I just want to meet the guy and have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
You know, like,
he's
those
awesome,
list
man.
of people,
He's the real
right?
deal. Yeah.
But like, when I hear him talk about the leader that Jocko was and the friend that Jocko was or is to him, and he tells his story, and he's like, I remember one of the ones I recently listened to was like, he was talking about how when he wanted to go back to war, but he couldn't, and they had him training people, but like he was like just beating the hell out of these guys.
I remember
and, like,
that story.
Not being a good mentor, not really like he got what he needed to get out of it, but like missed the opportunity to mentor and maybe make some other guys great leaders of men, make them better SEALs, maybe make them SEALs. Yeah. You know, like where he could have put forth that extra thing. Yeah. And like he talked about the conversation he had with Jocko. And I was just like, man, like when he makes stuff real like that, and you can see like the lessons taught. Is there like an experience you have with like jiu-jitsu or maybe Jesus in jiu-jitsu where like there was that moment for you and you're like, well, man, that really clicked for me. Like that changed how I thought about something.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, one is just kind of a very topical thing as you were talking about Jocko, and I had the honor of getting to work with or get to observe a lot of training with Echelon Front for I think maybe 4 months or so. Got to travel with them and learn some of the lessons and stuff. And one thing I observed just about a lot of the Navy SEALs that I had the opportunity to get to work with and talk to and learn from. Yeah. And not just the Navy SEALs, but also the other instructors that they have there that are a part of that whole leadership cadre that are like absolutely deserve to be in that group, even though they're not, SEALs. One thing I learned, or one thing I observed that I thought was excellent, was an unspoken expectation of excellence in your work. So just like I said, an expectation, a quiet expectation of you being excellent, right? So it wasn't like, you better be on time tomorrow we got to roll out at whatever 4:30. You better be on time tomorrow. It was just sort of like, see you in the morning. And then you show up and it's kind of like it again, there's such a, that's just, and I actually observed this with my football coach, Andre Patterson, who coached in the NFL. And then when he came to college, I had a coach before him that treated us like boys and told us like, you better know the plays tomorrow or you're going to be running laps. Right. When he would just be like, I'm excited for practice tomorrow, guys. We're going to be going over this package. Like, study up tonight. I know you guys will be ready tomorrow. It was such a like empowering thing. I was like, dude, this guy, he believes that about me, that I'm responsible enough to take this on. And so because of that, and not the fear of like not being prepared, I was like really like, oh man. So that was empowering to me. He had an expectation of me that I rose to, instead of an expectation of me that I was like scared that I wasn't going to meet. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a belief
in you.
Yeah.
He's sharing a belief that he has.
He treated me like a professional.
That's positive. That's uplifting.
Yeah. He treated me like a professional, which made me rise to the occasion of that. So that was, again, this is just a topical thing of getting to work with Echelon Front for a little bit. Their expectation of excellence makes you better. Just, I can do that and I will do that, because you have this expectation of me and I'm going to rise to the occasion. So that's one thing. A lesson I've learned through jiu-jitsu. So Formiga is a friend of mine, and he's I'd say he's more than a friend. I cross-train there. So he's not my coach technically. However, I've learned so much jiu-jitsu from him, and I've gotten so close with him. My coach is one of my best friends. His name is David Rodriguez, and he's down the street. But David and I trained together at a school in Dallas called Machado. So with Carlos Machado. Okay. It's a really well-known, original, one of the original families of jiu-jitsu. Well, my first day of jiu-jitsu, there's a lesson I learned in jiu-jitsu that it's carried on. The short version is, when I was training, my first day of training, first day of training, second roll, there was a guy who was a purple belt. It was about 6'4", 270 or something. He goes to north-south on me. I'm on my back. He goes to north-south, and he's just putting his like sternum right on my face, and with the fabric and his weight, and I was exhausted. I was panicking, and I was like, I legitimately thought I'm going to suffocate and I'm going to die, at least pass out, but maybe I'll die under here. Right. That was my thinking. I'm going to die. That was like my first thought. And so I panicked and tapped, right? He like laughed about it. And I'm like, well, I don't understand. Why are you laughing? I couldn't breathe. He's like, oh, you don't tap to pressure. You know, that's taboo, right? I'm like, oh, whatever. So I remember probably 4 or 5 months later, something like that, I'm rolling again with the same guy. And I end up in the exact same position, north-south, with him on me and his sternum's on my face again. And I'm fighting. And in the middle of it, I'm like, oh, I can't breathe. And then I'm like actively thinking, okay, frame, keep your hands up, frame here, turn to your side. There's a little pocket of air, breathe. And then in the midst of talking myself through like what I should do in that situation, I like, it was almost like another, like my voice going, hey, hold on. You were here like a couple of months ago in this exact same situation, and you legitimately thought you were going to pass away. Like, nothing changed. Yeah. Okay. Your cardio is a little better and your technique's a little greater, but literally nothing about the situation changed. Have you advanced that much that like now you're just not going to die because you're so proficient? Or is it now you're mentally getting tougher? You've experienced the stimulus again. So the same exact situation as before, but now I'm observing some maturity in my thinking where I go, actually, this isn't going to kill me. I can keep breathing. There's stuff that I can do. I can turn my face here. I can frame a little bit more. I can survive a little bit longer. And so it was like all in an instant, I realized like, whoa, I actually am growing. I'm learning something from this. Right. And then as I've gotten older and more mature and I've applied this to my life in other areas, I see where it applies. Like, I think about this like, okay, so for the past 2 years, like because of the economy and some ups and downs with different job opportunities I had and lost out on, well, now it's like a tough spot and my wife's trying to ramp her work up to kind of make up for some of that stuff. And it's like, ooh, there's some months that are really tight. We're having to dip into this and put this on hold. And again, kind of feeling that smothered feeling, kind of feeling like I can't breathe, kind of feeling like I'm not going to be able to make it through this. And then I go, okay, frame a little bit, turn your head to the side. There's a pocket of air here, breathe. Okay, wait till he moves a little bit. Then you're going to get your knee in and you're going to frame away from him and you're going to get him off of you and you're going to survive this, right? And so again, just the maturity of like, it's mental toughness that doesn't just apply physically. It applies to other areas of my life. I'm seeing that same thinking from jiu-jitsu play out in my ability to survive situations. And I go, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be okay. If I keep thinking, well, no, this is enough. This is too much for me, right? Then yeah, dude, you're going to tap. But when tapping's not an option, AKA being a dad, AKA being a husband, AKA being in charge of different organizations or having responsibilities with jobs, right? There's no tapping. So you just go, what can I do? I can't get this person. I can't get them off of me completely. I can't get out from underneath this situation right now. But I can frame. Now what do? Now I turn my head to the side. Now what do? Now I take a deep breath. You know, it's that type of thinking.
I think it builds thinking. Grit.
Yeah,
grit.
And knowing, bro, you're not
a lot of areas of your life.
Yeah, grit is it. Grit. I'm not going to die. I'm going to make it through. There's more that I could do. Before I give up, there's so much more I can do. Giving up is not an option. It's way down the line. There's a billion more things I can do between now and then to get out of this situation. So I guess just grit, determination, and also realizing like you're capable of a lot more than you give yourself credit for sometimes. So,
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we're getting to that time. We got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
I'll have to have you back again because this has been a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, brother. Thank you.
With me, man.
Appreciate
this has been awesome.
Yeah.
So we asked to get you. You already know the drill. You've been prepping for it. I already know because you want to like. This is your chance to smoke Josh. Show him that brown belt.
No.
Anyways, so you get a chance to leave your children with one piece of advice. What are you leaving them with? Yeah, Josh already stole mine. So that's right. That's what it was. Be about it. I believe it. You have a better one. No. I would say, man. So Jesus says in Matthew 16, he says, "He who tries to save his life will lose it, but he who loses his life for my sake will gain it." And I mean, it's like a powerful statement. Like, there's people that are just clinging to, like,
with a tight fist, like everything that they have. And so my advice, I think, to my son, like my son is about to be 7 and he'll be old enough soon that I can have these conversations with him, you know. It's this realization. I was thinking about this example from That Man Alive book we're talking about. They're talking about this really heroic man during 9/11, like running up and down the stairs, man in the red bandana, an amazing story of heroism, rescuing people, directing them to the exit, being strong for them. And I think like so many men resonate with that. Like, dude, yeah, man, like so many guys are like waiting for something to pop off in the supermarket or in the parking lot so they could defend a person. And, you know, like, I think we hear these stories of heroism and you just go, bro, I would give my life for a person to save them and rescue them. Like, how heroic is that? How much better could it get than that? Right. I think that's kind of in all of us. I think all of us would do the same thing. You do that in a heartbeat for your children or for your wife or for somebody you love, your friends. I think the greatest gift, something I'm learning just recently, is this new emphasis on giving my life for other people. What's heroic is to do it in a moment, to dive in front of someone for a bullet. But what is harder to do, I think, given the opportunity, we would all do that. I think most of us would do that. But what's more challenging, what's more practical, and what's more realistic for the life that we live now, a lot of us, is giving your life every day for somebody. So like, I'll give my life in one moment and jump in front of a bullet for someone, but will you give your life in a 1-hour phone call for someone that calls you at 11 p.m. that needs your help, or someone that's struggling with mental health issues and like they need somebody to be there? And it's like, well, it's inconvenient. I got work and I got kids and I got all this other stuff. Yeah, but what could it yield if you gave them 1 hour of your time, 1 hour of your undivided attention, 1 hour of your love and encouragement?
Yeah.
How could it alter their life? Are you willing to give you're willing to give your life in one moment, but are you willing to give your life in an hour at a time, 2 hours at a time, 1 day of helping a friend move, 1 day of encouraging somebody you don't know? We just lost somebody in the jiu-jitsu community. They're not saying what it is, so I think I know what it is, but it's like a mental health situation. Yeah. And it was a guy that we roll with. There's a black belt that I know, and I talked to him many, many times after jiu-jitsu, and he's gone, passed away just recently. And it's like, what more could I have given him? You know, oh yeah, but it's inconvenient because I got to leave, and you know, I'm like, yeah, I got kids at home, and yeah, but like, and I'm not saying like I could have done anything to stop that, but like in a moment, you know, maybe I could give him my time. And so that's what I'm saying. I think there needs to be a shift in like, yes, be willing to die for somebody in an instant. Like you would run into a burning building to save someone. You would take a bullet for someone. But also I think my encouragement to everyone and to myself and to my son would be also be willing to give your life in a 45-minute increment in a Saturday afternoon where you just give up your time to help someone.
Treat people like human beings, man. Yeah. Like, that's the biggest thing. You see so little of it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I've watched a 7-year-old hold the door open for people and no one even says thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, it's crazy. Like, you need to treat people like human beings.
Yep.
And if you actually care, give it some time.
That's selfishness, you know?
Yeah.
You're willing to give your life away, give an effort to other people, serve other people, be willing to lose your life, you know? Yeah, for other people.
All right, man. Well, now's your free roll.
Yeah.
Now you get to just go with whatever you want, because we like to do a little segment called "Give Us Your 2 cents." So,
oh, dude, I think I already
something I didn't ask you. Maybe there's something you just want to put out there. Maybe there's something you were just inspired by our conversation that you want to talk about for a minute. But give everybody Isaac's 2 cents.
Man, I already spent all my cents, I think. But dude, and I'll take a cue actually from I listened to Josh's podcast, and there's nothing more important that I could possibly say than just to anyone that's listening. Like, if you like, you know, if you want to know more, if you're wanting more out of life, if there's like a lack in meaning, the purpose, like, I think it has to me, it's because you just don't know the one that designed you for a purpose. And so I'd say if there's anything of any value that I could give to someone, it would just be to point them upward, you know, and say that is the most important thing that you could pursue. And if you don't know how, that's fine. That's actually a pretty common thing. And you should come check out an event, listen to a podcast, reach out to me. Like,
their events are a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. And you don't even have to do jiu-jitsu. You can come and hang out and just drink free Jocko Go, free Jocko Hydrate. Yeah. Listen, you know, and hang out and watch.
Even have some like mint chocolate chip protein.
Like,
we'll see. Josh is carrying all of it around.
Yeah. He's He's moving.
Yeah. Moving.
Moving.
His Crocs really steadily.
Yeah, but so anyway, that's it. But just, lean in, man. If you are lacking in it in purpose or meaning, and you want to know what that is, I think you just got to know the one who made you, and he'll tell you what it's for. So
awesome, man. Yeah. When's the next Pursuit event?
The next Pursuit event, they have one in October. I think it's the third weekend of October. I'm going to be serving at the next one I'll be serving at. It's like December 5th timeframe.
All right, cool.
And the next Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu event is October 5th. It's going to be in Plano, Texas at a Eastside Dojo Judo Gym.
All right, well, hopefully we'll be able to connect on the December one. Next week, you guys, no show next week. I'm out. So you got to wait a week. We'll have maybe we'll see. Maybe Biz will put out some best of. Something will roll. Otherwise, go back and catch up on the ones you missed, because you guys missed a lot of these good ones. But Isaac, dude.
Yeah.
Brother.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Ooh, we get a mic drop at the end. That's the way to end it. Right there, folks. We'll see you in 2 weeks. You guys have a great one. Be safe out there. Peace.